On the 20th of June, 1941, some Russian archaeologists found an ancient tomb dating back centuries. Interested in this find, Stalin visited the tomb. When he and the archaeologists finally entered the tomb, the reading on the grave read, "When I rise, the world shall tremble." Stalin was a little troubled by this and decided to go home. 2 days later, the Germans invaded. Our story starts with a man named Tamerlane, also known as Timur. When he was a young man, Tamerlane sustained a wound to his leg and lost some fingers. In the primarily military-focused societies of the steppe, you'd think these wounds would ruin his life, but no. Tamerlane wanted to build an empire, and his main inspiration was Genghis Khan. Through some strange shenanigans, Tamerlane was able to seize power over the Chagatai Khanate, one of the heirs of the late Mongol Empire. In true angry militarist fashion, Tamerlane and his new Timurid empire betrayed one of his allies in 1395. Instead of pressing his advantage on the nearby Golden Horde, he decided to take over Persia. Some of Tamerlane's neighbors, the recently installed Ottoman Empire, began talking smack about Tamerlane, calling him a coward. Tamerlane decided to teach the Ottomans a very well-deserved lesson and invaded them. In 1400, Tamerlane's army came down to Turkey. The Ottomans had to completely withdraw from their campaign against the Byzantines so they could even compete with Timmy and the hordes. Moving to attack Tamerlane's army, the Sultan brought his troops throughout the countryside to find that the Timurids had taken evasive maneuvers and brought themselves all the way to Ankara. The Ottoman troops began to become seriously dehydrated and demoralized. The river that they intended to use for water had suddenly disappeared because in a move of 40 chess, Tamerlane and his engineers dammed the nearby river, cutting off the Ottomans from their precious water. When Tamerlane finally met the Ottomans in battle, it wasn't even a contest. The smack-talking Sultan was dragged back to Samarkand, the Timurids' capital, where he died and was promptly used as a footstool for Tamerlane to get on his horse. Some guys called the Knights of Rhodes were chilling when Tamerlane politely asked for them to surrender the city that they were in. One would assume these knights kind of underestimated Tamerlane and were promptly obliterated. On the side, Tamerlane had a nice Indian vacation, where he killed over 100,000 prisoners before a battle. He messed up Delhi so much that it took them a century to recover. When the leader of Baghdad insulted Tamerlane by calling him a cripple, Tamerlane came back with a humongous army. Yes, Courier? Tamerlane's kinda pissed. I'm gonna go. What? Oh. When the Timurids breached the walls, each soldier was commanded to collect at least 2 skulls, or else his own skull would be taken. Now you may be asking, where are all these skulls going? The answer would be these massive pyramids made completely out of skulls. About 120 of these were constructed throughout the city, containing a total of 90,000 skulls. Another Persian city decided to surrender immediately, but they still weren't spared from Tim's wrath. After tax collectors went missing, Tamerlane went totally apeshit and ordered everyone in the city to be killed, Caesar's Legion style. The entire city of roughly 100,000 people was massacred, further contributing to the growing skull piles across the region. A European historian tried to count the skull towers, but stopped after finding 28 consecutive towers of over 1,500 before stopping. In 1399, Timmy promised no bloodshed against the city if they surrendered. Tamerlane burned the city and its inhabitants to a crisp, shedding not a drop of blood. Tamerlane had even greater aspirations. Tamerlane's goal was to conquer China, India, and Russia, but he stopped short. After many conquests, in 1405, Tamerlane was killed by the common cold. His son got the throne, but squandered many of Tim's gains.